good. I think I'm good. I think my microphone's on and we appear to be online. Let me check audio here real quick because, all right, we've got audio. I've got windows over here open. I need to arrange them, but that's okay. And I've got my chat stuff on. So there we go. All right, I think we are in good shape. Let me move this over and put this one back on, and we should be good to go. All right, good morning, everybody. It is Friday. What is today? December 10th. My googly goodness. 15 days. We'll call that, I don't know, 13 days of shipping left? 14? You ain't gonna get it there if you don't get it out the door soon. That's all I'm saying, which I've got to do this weekend. I'm packaging. I've got to wrap and package stuff that I've made to ship to family. And so I will be doing that. Oh God, I'm not gonna do this weekend. What am I gonna do? So this weekend, actually, I won't be doing that. Maybe tomorrow morning I will probably work on that and then get it shipped next week. I will not be here on Monday. Just a little admin note. I'll throw that out there again at the end. But I'm not going to be here on Monday. My niece is graduating from college, so I'm going to go and watch her graduate, and which is very cool. It's been a long process for her, and she's worked really hard, and we're all very proud of her. And so we're going to go down there and check it out. I think my older son is going to go down with me, which is very cool. So get some father-son time as well, and a lot of stuff going on. I've got a friend of mine who just retired, and he's having a little soiree this weekend. So I'm going to be going to that as well. Yeah, I have to go down to Chapel Hill, North Carolina for the graduation though. So that's going to be a little bit of a haul, and yeah, that's on Sunday. So that's why I won't be back here on Monday, because I'll be traveling back to the area on Monday. But my house will not be empty, so don't think you can just come and rob me, because there will be people here. My dogs will be here, and they do not like people robbing me. Just telling you right now. So anyway, that is actually true. I'm leaving, but my house is not empty. So just in case you thought you'd come in and help yourself to a bandsaw or a CNC machine, nay, not happening. My Great Dane would not be favorable to that. So she's a little picky about who steals my tools, and by who I mean nobody. So she's an awesome dog. I love my Great Dane. My Foxhound is also very awesome, but he's not as intimidating as like a 100+ pound Great Dane, who intimidates me sometimes, even though she doesn't mean to. Anyway, so yeah, I won't be here on Monday. I'll be back in town Monday, but I will not be here on the stream. It's just a quick turnaround. I'm leaving Sunday, coming back Monday, but it does not allow me time to get back here and do any on-screen activity, and that's okay. Because I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm kind of held up. I'm not building bases at the moment. I've got a lot of lumber that I can use to build bases, but I'm just not in the base building mood right now. I went through such a process of building my last few batches, and there's still plenty of them in my store, in my shop, jrswoodshop.com. And so there's still plenty of them there, and I'm not feeling the need to just run out and make more. Even though when I get back, probably around the new year, I will probably start doing a whole new batch of bases, and probably my most popular ones. I need to get my most popular ones and really build up my inventory on those, because they're the money makers. And right now, my problems right now are that I'm trying to build awareness for my online store, jrswoodshop.com. I'm trying to build awareness for my shop, because I've been selling everything either through just personal contact on Facebook, which is hit or miss. And then through my Etsy page, which Etsy has a lot of people who come through and do stuff, but Etsy takes a good chunk of my money. And I don't like that because that means I have to charge more for my bases to cover the administrative costs of, paying Etsy. I think I just got hit with like a $90 bill from Etsy, and I didn't even sell that much stuff. And it was like, oh, we're just collecting your monthly dues. Plus there's every item I list pays a listing fee. It's not much. I mean, it's like 20 cents per item. But I think that's charged on a monthly basis. So if it doesn't sell, every month is sitting here just kind of adding up. And if you have multiples, well, that's dollars a month. And I know, I mean, Etsy's I'm not complaining about Etsy. Etsy is a really nice place and it's a good community. And I understand why people like to sell there because it has a lot of eyes on and a lot of people go looking there. But I'm really just trying to build my own brand awareness for my shop so that it spreads through the communities. And when people want bases, they know to look at jrswoodshop.com, not JR's Woodshop in Etsy. So now I will say the nice thing about Etsy is they're not super strict about putting links in communications. Like on eBay has this really, really strong policy that if you put any email address or any phone number in a message with a potential buyer, they strip that out. They block it. They do not allow that because they want all communication and transactions to be handled through eBay website. And they're militant about that. I mean, people go as far as like putting hyphens and underscores and spelling out like, at instead of like if I did, Jeff at jrswoodshop.com instead of using the ampersand. So they are very, very strict about not allowing any communication to happen outside of their ecosystem. And sometimes it's limiting in the ability to communicate with people. And so if you wanted to say, hey, I understand their thing is we don't want you finding customers on our site and then selling outside of our site and cutting us out of the loop, because then you're just using us as a way to farm customers. I get it, but still that kind of precludes me from actually doing business on eBay. Well, among other things like their 10% fee that they charge for everything. You sell a $100 base, you get 90 because they taking 10 right away. And by the way, if you charge for shipping, they're taking up 10% of that shipping, even though that's not money that would go into your pocket. And anyway, I've ranted about eBay before. I don't even use eBay, but I will say, getting back to my point, that on Etsy, when I have people asking, hey, are you going to be doing more bases or whatever, I do point them to my new shop. I should, at some point in time, as I get some more inventory in there, I will move some things over to Etsy just to keep the shop viable and keep customers coming back and looking for stock, because right now they're probably going in there and thinking, that is a really, really tiny screw and I have no idea where it came from, and that bothers me. I'm going to put it in my magnet dish here because I don't know where that came from. It's very tiny. It's a little tiny screw. Stick on there. There we go. Hopefully I'll find something that needs a screw and I'll be able to put that in there. Anyway, so I've been pointing people as they come in and send me messages on Etsy, say, hey, are you going to be doing more bases? And I say, hey, I have some listed over on my other shop if you want to go look. And I put the link in there, and as far as I know, they get the message, and I've had people come over to my other shop and buy stuff. So I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to put the word of mouth in. And then what happens is these people who buy from me are on forums and user groups and things like that. So if they see a message going, hey, does anybody know where I can buy a base for a red eye machine or whatever, they can say, oh, go to jrswoodshop.com and he has really nice stuff and you can buy it there. So that's what I'm trying to do. But that takes time. I understand it takes time. But I am trying to get that built up. And in the meantime, that means sales are slow. So I either have to just bite the bullet and wait it out and wait for word of mouth to kind of populate. Or every now and then I have to farm some stuff over to my Etsy shop and sell it through there. And then I would raise the prices on it because, like I said, I don't like charging as much as I have to sometimes. But when you've got fees that are coming in, I mean, they're not. I think they're 5% on Etsy. It's not horrible, but you sell multiple items that are hundreds of dollars. Those fees add up. So I'm trying to be patient with my new website. I think it does I did a good job on it. I think it's not overly complicated or whatever, although some people have had trouble buying stuff. But that was more user error. Like I accept Apple Pay. Somebody's like, I tried using Apple Pay and it doesn't work. Well, that's because they actually didn't know what Apple Pay was, and they thought it was linked to their Apple account, and it's not. It's if you have an Apple account, you can link a credit card to your Apple account and then pay using Apple Pay, and it charges your credit card. But you have to have the card or your debit card registered first, and they didn't. And they're like, I've tried several times and it's not going through. And I'm like, did you actually register a card with it? And they're like, oh, I don't know. So because people have an account and usually have a card registered to their Apple account that you pay for, monthly subscriptions and things like that, that's completely separate from Apple Pay, and people don't necessarily realize that. So I've had trouble with that. And it also uses Cash App, because I think the whole site is powered by Square, not Squarespace, not the website maker Squarespace, but Square, which is a money, kind of like PayPal-ish kind of company, a finance company. So that's how I can accept credit cards and everything else. It goes through Square. I do have to pay a fee for that, but that is like 3%, something like that. It's not horrible. It's actually less than PayPal's fee. They do not accept PayPal though. If I want to use PayPal on my site, it's really weird. I have to actually, I have to go to a higher tier platform on my service to accept PayPal, which I don't understand that unless it's because they're paying a fee to PayPal to use PayPal service, and that fee then gets incorporated into my higher tier fee. Anyway, it's all goofy and weird. I mean, that is some of the benefits. Etsy does have benefits. I'm not going to say they don't. I got to put this back on my track saw thingy here because it protects it from sitting on the floor and keeps it from getting messed up. This is my track saw track. But I have these little plastic things, and I forgot to put this back on the bottom of the track saw track because I don't want the bottom getting messed up. And this is the end that I rest on the floor, and it just protects it. If you were here on Wednesday, you got to see me use the track saw to cut up the end of my maple table or my cherry table over here. I cut the end off over here. This is can you see that? There's a table sitting over here. I don't know which camera looks at it. This one? No, that doesn't look. How about this one? Not really. I don't think I have anything pointed over here. There we go. That one's pointed over here. So here's my table right here. I cut the end off there, and I used the track saw for that. So that worked out really nice. All right. So anyway, where was I? This is just rambling. I'm not going to make any more boards or any more bases for sewing machines until after Christmas at least. And then maybe right around New Year's, I will start a whole new batch. I will make the large size with the storage. They take me longer, but they're the best sellers. So there's that. So right now I'm just going to concentrate on working on this table and just little odds and ends things. Speaking of odds and ends, these are so I'm maybe doing an inlay project. I went over that too, where I'm going to make an inlay of a sewing machine on this maple board right here. So this maple board, it's an ingrain board, and it's very lovely. I can show you that on the other camera. So this is the ingrain board that I'm going to put that on. and it's just all maple, so it's kind of, you know, looks kind of plain Jane right now. If this was just a cutting board, I mean, it would look okay, but it would not be super nice. But then I also have this right here, which is walnut, and I want to make the inlay. I want to cut the solid part of the inlay out of this and then cut a pocket into the maple right here, and then that solid cutout would go into that pocket and look really nice. Hopefully, that's hopefully what we're going to do. So I had to work on these. I'm just kind of doing these off camera because in-grain cutting boards take a long time anyway. And I had to flatten these. And I've been watching some videos lately on just people doing cutting boards, just because, I don't know, not like I don't know how to make them, but just checking people out and seeing what they're making. And I've noticed some videos on people talking about flattening their in-grain cutting boards using the planer. And I can tell you from personal experience, I would never flatten my in-grain cutting board on a planer. And I say this because I have done it before and I had one explode out the back. Now, if I had a planer that had a Shelix head in it, if you don't know what a Shelix head is, it's basically a cutting head made up of small, I don't know, they're about half-inch size carbide cutters, and they're not straight. They're actually mounted so that they shear cut. They're mounted in a spiral, and they're mounted on so that they do shear cuts instead of straight cuts like a straight knife. They do a shear cut. And if I was doing something with a shear cut with a spiral head, I might consider it. But if you're using anything with a flat, now the other thing is there's spiral heads that are not, they're not on an angle, they're straight, but the little carbide cutters are spaced around so that they kind of make like a spiral. I can't remember exactly what the terminology is, but the blades are straight, but they're so small that it may not create that catch and throw, which is what happens if you're using long 12-inch straight blades and you run this through. Even if you have sideboards, which I did, I had sideboards and inboards, I had this thing encased, but as soon as that blade caught some of that end grain, it just fired that puppy right out the back, and it basically exploded out the back. It didn't put a hole in my wall, but it ruined the board. And I said, you know what, never again, even with all the precautions of using, you know, regular straight grain boards on the edge as runners and one on the end to keep it from chipping out and everything. There's so much prep that goes into having to surround your board with regular wood, you know, straight grain wood to protect it from blowing out. It's just not worth it. It's just a pain in the rear. So I have basically two methods that I use for flattening my end-grain cutting boards. One is just elbow grease. It's just using I use my Bosch. I use this now. I used to use a regular small elliptical type sander. But I use this because it has a turbo mode. I can put a 60 grit on here and pretty much get through the roughness of the board, of the individual pieces, and get it down to flat. It's still a process, but I can still do it. And I have to sand anyway, even after I've flattened it. Even if you use a planer, you still have to sand. So I'm just basically just jumping straight to the sanding to get them flat. The big key to that and to any of these is to make sure that you use clamping cauls when you make these end-grain cutting boards. A clamping caul is just a board that you know, two boards that you clamp across the individual pieces to keep everything nice and flat. Because if you have boards that are sitting higher and lower than each other, you're going to lose, first of all, you're going to lose a lot of thickness by the time you get everything down to a uniform size. But the other part is to actually get it flattened would take you forever. And especially with a sander. So if you're starting with a flat surface, using a sander, or a mostly flat surface, using a sander, although it's a lot of elbow grease, you use a 60 grit and you go at it. You can also use a belt sander, and it will stay mostly flat and you're in good shape. The method I use for this, I don't think I used it on this one. I did not use it on this one because it didn't need it. This one was pretty flat. I did have one board on here that shifted and was a little higher, and so I had to take this over and use my CNC machine, and I've got a milling bit on there, and just mill. It's like a 1-inch wide bit for doing, basically for milling slabs or for wasteboards on a CNC machine, and you flatten a wasteboard with it. But I use it for flattening this. It's not the best. I probably need a new one because I was leaving burn marks on here, but because you have to go and sand, at least I got it down to flat. I brought it back, I sanded it down. So that's my two methods, is either the CNC machine or just good old elbow grease and a sander. And I've got these down flat. I got this one down flat. I think I did this one just to 80, maybe. Actually, I think I did, yeah, I think this one's done to 80. It's pretty flat. You can see on here, there's no tipping on these. So these surfaces are very flat. I'm not worried about sanding this one down too much, because if I make the inlay cut and I put it in here, it'll get sanded again, and then the whole thing will get sanded flat again. I have no idea if this is going to work. So I'm going to be doing this off camera, because first of all, the CNC machine process that would cut the pocket and cut the cutout on here is really long. It takes a long time. Also, I'm going to do test cuts. So it just makes no sense to have it on the live stream. But anyway, yeah, I found it interesting that people were like feeding their stuff through their planer. Well, I know people say not to do this, but I'm going to give it a try. And if you take super light cuts, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But you know how long it takes to make an end grain cutting board to get to this point? It takes a lot of work. End grain cutting boards, there's a reason they cost more than straight grain, because there's a lot of work that goes into them. And there's a lot of glue time that goes into that. You've got 2 entire glue up sessions, at least, sometimes 3 glue up sessions, to get to the point where you have a decent end grain board, and then to have it shatter or chip or break off in a planer just because you didn't want to spend the time sanding it. So for me, I'm like, you know what? My time's too valuable. Even though I have to spend it sanding, it's a lot less time than having to rebuild an entire board. So anywho, but anyway, I just found it interesting that there's so many people out there just like, oh yeah, dude, just using my planer. And I'm like, okay, dude, there's like entire like sets of videos on people running my end grain cutting board through a planer. Oh, you do you, buddy. I do me, which is not with the planer. Speaking of online and being the season, let me show you, I'm going to share something with you, because I get emails from grizzly.com, and they have cool little deals on their website. And let me share this with you just so you can see this. I thought this was a great deal. I normally wouldn't do this, but I thought this was a really great deal. Let me hop over to here. So they do this thing called their 12 Days of Christmas, and they have these deals that they offer up all the time. And they have one-day deals. And today's one-day deals are kind of cool. So if you're watching this today, today's the 10th of December. They had a couple of really good deals in here. One of them is for a lathe, a small lathe, kind of like I have, about the same size that I have. This is a variable speed, which is, you want a variable speed lathe. You don't want one where you have to change the belt sizes to get different speeds. That's a pain in the rear. You want one where you can just turn a dial and be good to go. Variable speed lathe, this is a 12 by 18, which means it has 18 inches of length to work between centers. So that's from the motor mount side that turns the piece to the little piece that holds the end stock. You can get 18 inches in there, which is plenty. If you want to do small items, if you want to turn pins and things like that, if you really want to get into that world, this is the perfect size. And I think that's kind of what mine is. I can buy an extension for mine to make it like, I don't know, 40 inches or whatever, but I just have like somewhere between 18 to 20 inches on mine. It's not huge. And I've found it to be more than enough. And in 12 inches, so you can turn something, you got 6 inches from the center point down to the bed, which means you can turn something, well, it's actually probably a little bit deeper than 6 inches, but you could turn something 12 inches in diameter, like a bowl or a plate or something like that, which is a pretty good size for most people. And you get bigger than that, And you need a bigger lathe. You need something with more horses under the hood. But this is fantastic. A variable speed for $395. That is an amazingly good price. And like I said, my brother has a Grizzly lathe. He loves his Grizzly. He's got a big one. He's got a big, hefty, like, I don't know, he spent a couple of grand on it. But that's what he does. He turns wood. That's pretty much all he does in his little wood shop space is wood turning. But if you just want to have a little hobby lathe that you can turn everything from, like, I've made bowls, pins, I make knobs for drawers. I've done so many different things on there. I've got a spindle that I put on mine that I can use for buffing. It's a very useful tool to have. And if you're thinking about pulling the trigger on one, I'm going to tell you that this right here is a good deal. Now, you can see I'm just looking, they actually do sell an extension. So if you wanted to get an extension, there's the optional extension bed. I have no idea what the optional extension bed costs. But let's see if they list it down here. They do not. So you could find, here's the optional bed. I think is $110 for the optional bed. I think it is. I'm looking across. And then you want to see, make sure and look and see what it comes with. The various equipment stuff. A lot of them do not come with chucks. So this looks like it comes with the flat mounting head, which basically you screw into your stuff with this piece and it fits in the end and spins that way. So if you really want to do lathe turning though, you're going to need to buy a chuck. I'm just going to say chucks are really what you need to hold your work in. Is that a chuck right there? Here's a chuck right here. So this is, that can't be that much for that chuck. Hang on a second. I'm gonna skip over here and look and see. Okay, that's a really expensive chuck. You do not need that chuck. Who makes a good? So actually, Nova makes a great chuck. Now the nice thing is there's a lot of standard spindle, the screw-on portion. There's basically a couple of different standard sizes for these things. So that's kind of what you want. Let me see real quick. I got to come over here to the computer real quick because I want to show you the chuck that I have. I think if I can find this, let me go to Woodcraft and see. Let's go to Woodcraft and yeah. Let's look up Nova chuck. See what they have for chucks here. Yeah, so this is kind of the chuck that I have right here for mine. It's a 45 millimeter or jaw set on here. And basically, let's see. No, that's not it. That's just for the jaw set. I want the actual chuck. Give me the chuck. Where's the chuck? Do they sell the chuck? Okay, here's one with the Nova Light Supernova 2 chuck with one set of teeth for $170. And you can find others, but you need a chuck to really make things really, really good. And don't be confused by the jaws. The jaws are what hold the piece in, and they attach to the chuck, and they move out and in. So you need to find the right one. But usually you can find those Nova jaws. I think they're, I'm trying to remember what I can't find them. Let's see. I think it's the G3 chuck. Let's do a search. Nova G3 chuck. It says, here we go. Let's see here. This is actually at Nova Tools, and this is what came with mine, and it fits on a, let's see, should fit on a regular spindle. But you can see this is really nice. You get basically the chuck, you get, what else does it come with? You get a wood worm, screw, which is the worm screw, is really nice because it allows you to bore a hole. So if you're doing a bowl, woodworms are really nice for that. That way you can just make a hole where on the inside of the bowl where you're going to hollow that out later. Then you turn a foot on the outside, and then you can flip the whole thing around. Just look up woodworking bowl turning. You'll find a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, this is a great little chuck. I don't know that they sell it on this site, but if you go and look, you will find one. So you're going to need that. But I'm telling you what, $395 for that lathe as a place to start, and then you can find a chuck, and you could probably find one used. You could probably find one on eBay or something. You can find a used chuck. Here's on Amazon. They have like, oh my gosh, so many chuck sets here. $127 for the chuck. It's a good deal. It really is. It comes with the chuck key and all the other goodies there that you need to really kind of get going. All I will say, I'm going to say this right now, is that if you, because then you're going to need tools. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to do this, if you're going to buy a lathe, understand that you're not just buying a lathe. Because there are so many accessories and turning tools and other goodies that you're going to need, from carbide tip tools to traditional bevels to shears and all these other things. You're going to need stuff. Like, look at all this stuff. Not even the books, just the tools. You're going to need all that stuff. So I would say, don't be fooled by cheap stuff. Get quality if you're going to do it, but understand that you're going to spend some money if you go into this looking for, you know, a nice hobby machine. You're going to spend some money. But that's a good place to start. $395 is a great price for a variable speed small lathe. And, you know, you can shop around and look for others. There's other companies that make them. Jet makes them. Nova makes them. I think Laguna makes them. If you want to go to Penn State Industries, that is another place that is specific to wood, to pen turners. I mean, they have a lot of stuff, but they are built around the pen turning industry, and they also sell lathes and things there. So anyway, just throwing that out there to you. But I saw that on their site, and I was like, that is a smoking good deal right there. Another good deal that they have, which I had to think about this one. I was like, oh man, they've got a really nice 12-inch variable speed benchtop drill press with a laser. Okay, I don't really give a hoot about the laser, but that's a really nice drill press, and it's a tabletop. And my tabletop one it's okay, but my variable speed doesn't work. I basically have one fixed speed because I can't get in. One day I might try to break into this thing, but I can't. A lever broke, so I can't even get in to change the belt speeds and stuff. So yeah, this one is pretty nice. They're all pretty much the same, but this one's pretty stout. And if you need a benchtop one, that's a pretty good price. Yeah, so here you can see, this is what I mean by, you know, changing the belts. This is how they do variable speed. You've got a pulley, that pulley moves up and down, and then you've got, this one's different. This one's very different. Mine has different size pulleys it works on. So this is a pretty fancy one right here. And I think you can dial in the speed that you want and stuff. So pretty fancy. I had to think about this one. It actually has a little extension right there with roller on there. So if you got wide material, pretty nice. A lot of people build beds for their drill presses. They'll build something to go on top of it. I didn't do that. Let's see if there are any more good deals today. Little router table, you know. Anyway, Grizzlies are a great little site. Some of their stuff's kind of cheap. Some of it's kind of nice. You just kind of have to weed through and find out. But there's a lot of premium woodworkers out there who are using Grizzly tools. I mean, the one thing that I would love to get is a really nice helical head joiner. And they're not cheap. Is that a helical head? I can't even see them. But anyway, I'd love to get me an 8-inch wide helical head joiner like that in a mobile base. That one is not helical head, and that costs $1,700. But look at that, isn't that pretty? The ability to join wider stock is really appealing to me because I do a lot of my own milling of my lumber. So for me, it's like that would make sense. But you have to look for, the stuff that's going to make sense for you. This one has a spiral cutting head. So it has the little small cutters, but there you go. So there you can see there's a nice view of what a spiral cutting head is. See how those are straight, but they're not canted, but they go in a spiral around the cutting head. That's what I mean by spiral. Helical means those are actually turned to follow the angle of them is turned to follow the spiral pattern. And so they do more of a shear cut than these. These do a straight cut, but they do it in little small increments. And that is actually a lot of cutters in that one. Sometimes they're really spaced out. That's a lot of cutters. The nice thing about the small cutters is if you get a damaged edge from a nail or whatever, which is like what I've got right now because I hit a nail and I have to replace my blades. Well, on these, you just turn the cutter head and you've got 4 cutter heads in each location. So that's another advantage is they last a really, really long time. But anyway, what is that? That's $1,200. That's a 6-inch. I think they probably have an 8-inch. There's a 6-inch. Let's see what this one is. I'm just looking through their options here. There's an 8. That's huge. Look how big that is. Whew. Anyway, so I'm going to come back to me now. And now that I've shared the goodies, the Christmas goodies. So really what I wanted to show you was the lathe, because I was just scrolling through my email this morning. I saw that and I was like, holy mackerel, that is a good price. And it is. Okay, I'm going to do something in the shop now. It's time to move forward. So I've got this. This one I finished. It's all done. It looks really nice. My finish is really nice on there. I still have some glaze to put on these things, but I need to put some feet on here. I didn't put any feet on here. I was kind of waiting till I got all this stuff done. And you just polish that edge just a little bit there. But what I'm going to do is put some feet on here. I've got these little feet. You can buy feet on Amazon or whoever, feet are easy. Why is this so far behind? Twitch, you are lagging behind, baby. My Twitch feed is like so far behind everything else. I'm not sure why that is. Okay, weird. Everything else is like showing up like right as it should be, but the Twitch screen is like a couple of minutes behind. What do we got here? So you got basically little rubber feet and oh no, oh, I have a nice amount of these things, and if I drop one and lose it, it'd be sad. Let me go fish that one out of the nether regions here. Fell under my table. Oh, where'd you go? You piece of... Oh, man. Man, come on. Really? Why you gotta do me like that? Come on, it fell under there. I gotta go in here and... Oh. All right, well, I'm going dirt diving because there's so much dirt and crud under my system here. But this thing rolled under, and the only way to get to it... Where'd you go? I watched it roll under here, and it's not here? Come on. Oh, this is frustrating. It wasn't under there. Is it under here? Holy mackerel. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? It was on the ground. Now I got to go down here and... Okay, well, I'm not going to burn time. I'll go find it later. I know approximately where it is. Ugh. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, I've got these little rubber feet. I got these on Amazon. You can buy them wherever. These are kind of clear ones. And you can get them. Most people do black or clear, either way. Either way is good. But all I need to do is put these in. Make sure you use stainless steel screws if you're going to do this. Don't use just regular screws. Use stainless steel ones. They sell them like that for cutting boards and stuff. But you want the stainless steel so they don't rust. So let me get 4 of those out. And put these back in their little bag here. And I usually just buy these in packs of like 20, which gives you like 5 boards worth. And now what I need to do, I'm going to get my new fancy awl here, and I need to locate the position where I want these to go. And I want them to go about an inch in. Let's see what I got here. So an inch that way. And that way is right there. Actually, that was pretty good. And I'm just going to make a mark with my awl as a drill mark. When you put these things in, the screws do not go in that far. They probably extend maybe 1/4 of an inch. There's not that much. There's not that much screw protruding through the bottom of these, so maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to get a drill bit that will allow me to create a pilot hole. Just find I don't need anything large. Just something small would do. Oh, I put that bit in the wrong place here. Hang on a second. Is that bit going here? That bit goes in here. I've got a really small bit that I can use for this. Maybe if I can get it out. Take a little 1/8 inch bit. It never wants to come out of the package that it's in. Ow, son of a gun. You know what? Screw this one. Let me go over here and grab this one. I think this one has an 1/8 inch bit. There we go. 1/8 inch. Actually, I'm going to use a 7. Well, let me see what the size would look good. I actually have smaller bits here. And you don't want anything bigger really than the thread size. And I think an 1/8 inch is actually too big. It is. So I don't want an 1/8 inch because that's actually the width of the threads here. I mean, if you have calipers, you can actually measure like how wide your threads are. So yeah, these are almost like 0.13 and 0.175 is an 1/8. So I'm going to go smaller than that, maybe 7/64 or actually 3/32. That's really skinny. And that gives the teeth a lot of room to bite when you're actually screwing the screw in. You don't want to go too large with them because then they don't have enough wood to actually bite into. So the other thing I'm going to do is put a little piece of tape on here. And that's going to give me a little depth stop. I don't want to drill too far down inside there. Just want to go far enough to get a nice, that's about right. There you go. So there you go. You can see that's about how far down I'm going to drill with these things. And I need a drill. Actually, before I do that, hang on, give me 1 second. I have to run and do something in the house real quick. I'll be right back. We're just going to take a quick break and then we'll drill some holes. Okay, I'm back. All right. Need a drill. And, you know, I'm not even going to use a drill driver for putting the screws in. They don't have to go very far, so I think I'm just going to use a actual screwdriver to screw these in. So you definitely don't want to snap anything off. That's like the worst thing you could do. All right. And, you know, just kind of try to keep things vertical here. all there is to it. And then I do need a new head on my screwdriver though, so take the flat head off and get a small head. Now let me see what size Phillips that is. That's a pretty good fit. We'll use that one. And put this flat head away. Wow, I am just dropping things today. It is not the good day. Oh my gosh. Seriously? Oh, there we go. Wow. It's like everything wants to fall, but then it wants to fall and hide in the most difficult to reach place. It's just one of those days. All right, let me lock this in. And then we're just going to take this like so. And the nice thing about this is it's ratcheting, so I can just go like that. There we go. There's one. So I'm going to go ahead and mark and drill the other 3. And that way we can kind of just knock this one out. So 1 inch from here, about this way. There. Okay. And I'm just going to get these all marked out here. And it'll just be easier for me to do it that way. I'm just kind of approximating where an inch is on here. And then shift it back. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. Some people make little jigs. If you do a lot of these, they'll make a little jig that exactly marks their spot to put their corners in for doing this. I'm like, you know, they're close. I'm okay with that. They just have to be close. They don't have to be perfect. I mean, I have this set to 1 inch. So I just measure 1 inch and 1 inch and I'm good to go. All I need to do is drill these now. And then we can screw them in. All right, there's all the pilot holes drilled. And then we will go ahead and grab the screwdriver and drive these things home. Yeah, the thing with the rubber feet, you don't want to like super tighten them down because it actually will squish the feet down a little bit and then they will not be even when you put your stuff down on the feet down on the table. They're actually going to be not even. Also, these have a little washer in the bottom, which is kind of nice because it gives a nice flat surface for the screw to hold into. And I'm not over tightening these. I'm just getting them snugged down. And there we go. All right, and that is the end of that. So you can see now we have, I don't know if you can see it any better, but there's 4 feet on there. 4 feet rest really nicely. They give a little extra room underneath, so when you're picking this up, you can see that there's a little extra room under the edge to get your fingers in. I made these so that they're spaced up pretty high. I did it for my big giant fingers, so most people don't have fingers that fat, but there's lots of room in here now. Couple of cups, the little thing right there, and there is my finished little tray, my little serving tray thing. Look, I can tilt it because the cups are in little recesses. So isn't that nice? So I have no idea if this is handy or not, but I thought it was kind of a cool little thing. I haven't given one away yet. I have 3 of them. So I've got to do feet, and I'm still working on putting the finish on the ceramic piece in the middle. But anyway, I like it. Looks nice. So I got to just figure out who I'm going to give these to. I have no idea who that's going to be, but I'm going to set this one over here. There's a little closer view so you can see. So kind of cool. It's got a little ceramic thing here. Just a little serving tray, little cups, snack time, maybe some dips. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let me show you something else I did off camera this weekend. So we had talked on Wednesday, not this weekend. I did it on Thursday. I talked this weekend about making bow ties for this table because it definitely needs bow ties. There are a couple of large cracks in the surface of this thing. I'm just kind of cleaning up the mess here so you can see where we're at here. There's a couple of large cracks in the surface of this table that definitely have to be secured with bow ties in order to keep any further wood movement from damaging the table once it's finished. So if I turn it up this way, you can certainly see this crack running up through here. And the big question I had previously was, well, should I fill this with epoxy? Because I'm going to fill these cracks with epoxy too. It's going to get an epoxy pour in here. I mean, I don't know how much epoxy I need. Pretty good volume of epoxy is going to be needed. I'm going to try to clean out some of the rough debris in here, but I'm going to do black epoxy. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So it'll just be a nice black. It'll look kind of like you see it right here. These areas right here will just be black and it'll look kind of natural. But I'm going to have bow ties. I just had one here a second ago. So a bow tie is something that looks like this. And you put them across the cracks in numerous places, wherever you want these cracks to be secured. So I would probably start one right here, and then maybe do one right here, and then one right here. So at least 3. And then down on this piece right here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a, put this way back a little bit. So right here, there's what looked to be like, not really a knot, but somehow there was a branch or something that came off this way. There's a circular grain pattern right here. And right in the middle is kind of like a hairline crack. I don't want that hairline crack to expand over time because wood moves, but I don't want it to expand over time to the point where it actually creates a fissure in the table and starts doing stuff. Right now, it's pretty flat on there. You can see a hairline, but I would put another one right there. Probably smaller than this, but another one, just to say. So that is probably what I'm going to do. Now, the other question was, should I do hand-cut bow ties or should I do template cut bow ties? I'm going to have to do deep ones on here. They're going to need to be probably, I'm thinking 1/2 inch thick. So about this thick. This is, what is this? This is, I think, 3/4 of an inch, or almost, because it's plywood. So this is just shy of 3/4 of an inch thick. Probably the thickness I'm going to need, just about that, because these are not decorative. These are structural. Well, they're decorative too, but their main purpose is structural, and they are to hold this thick slab. This slab is, I don't know how thick this is. Right here, it is almost 1.5 inches thick. And to hold that much mass of wood together, you can't just have a really thin, like a 1/4 inch bow tie. It really will not work because the bulk of the wood underneath that bow tie is still going to be wanting to pull. You need something that can hold the pressures of that wood movement and keep them in check. That's what the bow tie does. Because it's angled, going up this way and going up this way, and it's set in there, as the wood tries to pull on there, it's pulling against those angles, and it's going to be difficult for it to actually move. As far as the angle goes, this is, these are, I'm trying to think of what the angle is on these. I think these are probably 9 degrees. So there's different angles that people make their bow ties at. In a second, I have digging in my drawer here, but I'm trying to find my little angle protractor-y thing right here. So my little angle finder. because I want to see what the angle is on this particular bow tie set that I have here for these templates. So all I'm going to do is line up the angle here and see that's it's a pretty big angle right there. That's pretty big. Let's see if I go this way. Figure out what this angle is here. Let's see what that says. That is this is actually pretty extreme as bow ties go. That's a 12-degree angle on this. So this from here to here is 12 degrees. That angle right there is 12 degrees. This one right here is 8 degrees. I'll hold it in front of my shirt because it's easier to see. That is an 8 degree, and that's kind of a standard size or standard angle for a lot of the hand cut ones that they're slender and the angle's not as much, but it's still enough holding power to hold the wood in check. And I did this one on a sled. Let me show you the sled here. I'm going to point my camera over here. It's just easier because I made this yesterday, and I'm going to show you what I made here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Zoop. All right. So that is my table saw. Well, you can't see it yet, but you will see it as soon as I hit this button right here. Okay, this is my table saw. I made a sled for my table saw. This is just basically a, I need to put another screw in here, but a piece of melamine, and I put some runners in there. And so I've got a stop right here. I made a cut right to here, and this is 90 degrees to the cut. So if I put this on my bandsaw and I slide it in like that, see? Nice, right? So got a little sled, little tabletop sled, and it's nice. It doesn't shift, it doesn't move. Then what I made is a little jig right here to cut an 8 degree. So this is made for cutting an 8 degree bow tie. And you can see if I put this flat on here, I cut this using this. So what it does is it makes this cut is going to go straight into the bandsaw, and that cut is going to be 8 degrees off of this right here. So I would take this, I would put it down, put my piece of wood on here, and then cut one side, and you just basically, this way, you flip it, you cut the other side, then you flip the whole thing over, and you do the whole thing until you get both sides that look like this. So that is a little jig. There is a video on, and you can make these at different angles. I did this on the compound miter saw. So all I did was I had a square piece of wood. I cut a 90-degree notch in there, and then I took it over to my compound miter saw, turned the blade bevel to 8 degrees, and cut the bottom off. So now I get this little tilt to it. And that's how I can use that to cut. There is on Blacktail, Blacktail Studios YouTube channel, there's a complete, if you go through and look through the old videos, you can find the directions for making this jig, which is really super simple. But then you can take this and you can cut really slender ones. So this one's a little thick, actually. This one's probably thicker than I would use. I would probably make them so that the widest part is maybe 1.5 inches. This one's a little wider. This one's probably, what is that? 1.6. So this is a little over 1.5 inches. I would probably want to go like maybe 1 inch, 1.25 inches at the most, and make these really slender. So you can make them really long and slender. It just depends. It's all up to the type of wood that you put in there, how thick you want to make them, how long you want to make them. And to demonstrate, I'm going to take this right here is an offcut, and this is just pine, so it's really easy. But I'm going to cut this down to a little dimension here. Let me see. I'm just going to give myself a line to cut it off here. And I want this to be nice and straight and square. And it is. So I'm going to cut this. Let's go. What do you think? Let's see. This would be 5 inches. Do 5 inches. Let's do 5 inches. 5 inches sounds good. Let me find a pencil. And I'm going to mark this at 5 inches. And then we'll run through and show you how to make a really slender one. Now this will be actually really wide. So what I need to do is make this even thinner. And I would need to do that at the table saw. But I'm just going to do a demo one here for you just so you can see how the jig works. Okay. So I'm going to cut this off first at the miter saw, which you can see over my shoulder here. And I need to set this back to 0 because it's still set at 8 degrees. So I'm going to set this back to my 0 detent. Oh, there we go. Which is right there. And let me get my square just to make sure that it's still square, because, you know, just in case, I'm going to make sure it looks to be okay. It's still square. I mean, whenever I move this thing, I get paranoid that I'm going to be losing the accuracy when I come back to 0, which would not be good, because that's the whole point of this, is to make nice square cuts. I'm making a small cut, so I'm not going to go I'm not going to put dust collection on. I know I should, but it's just one little cut. Just one little cut. That's all I'm making. There. That's it. That's all I want. Okay. So there's my one little cut. I need to turn my heater off behind me, otherwise I'm going to blow out my system again. I'm just going to clean off the fuzzies. But really what you would do is you would make your wood about as thick as you want your bow tie to be, and then you would cut it off over at the saw. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark the halfway point on here and draw a line, because I don't want, when I put it into the bandsaw, I don't want to go all the way to the middle. I want to leave myself a little bit of space so that when I can clean it up with a chisel. But this thing should be, I'm just going to mark 2.5 inches, and I want that to be pretty accurate. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this. I'll set this at 2.5. 2.5 because this is 5 inches. I want this to be right in the middle. So I'm just going to draw a line. And you have to do this on both sides. Once again, I have the drops today. I don't know why, but I do have the drops today. So you want to draw this line on both sides so that you know that you're getting the same accurate cut. And all I did was draw a line across the middle. I'm going to do the same thing using the same reference edge so that I know when I draw this line, it's in the same position on the back as it is on the front. So you can see here that I drew a pencil line to the middle. It's on both sides like that. And then I'm going to bring it over to my sled. And then the biggest thing with this that I found, this, you can move this over depending on how wide it is. You might want to like secure it down once you're find your spot that you want. But the biggest thing I found is that you need to figure out where you want to enter your cut in the wood here to get it in the same spot. Oh, there's a piece of wood on here that is interfering. Hang on a second. There we go. Because I want this to sit flat on here. Go away. All right. So you need to figure out where you're going to enter your cut on here and line that up with the kerf that's already there on the board. Let me get my ears on, and I'm going to put my dust collection in here because the bandsaw does make a little bit of a mess. And let's just turn that on, and I'm going to make a couple of cuts and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I basically do one cut and then I flip it over and do the other cut. Sorry. So basically I do one cut and then I flip it around and do the other cut. Then I flip it over, do one cut, do the other cut, and then I get something that looks like this. All right, so see, it's almost, I didn't go quite to the middle, but I did enough that if I can pop these off just like that, now what I'm left with is a little bit here in the middle, just this little bit right here, and I can clean that up with a nice sharp chisel. And I just come in with the chisel and just clean up those edges and run this nice and straight. And hopefully that gives me a nice clean mark here. And that's what you get when you use this, is you get these bow ties with these nice crisp, there we go. You get this very nice crisp angle right here, right? So really super sharp, nice angle. This one has a little bit on here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And if this was really hardwood, I would put it in my vise and do it. But there you go. So now I get these really nice, sharp, crisp lines. And you can imagine if I had a thinner piece of wood, this would be a long, skinny bow tie. But you can see that it's repeatable in terms of that angle. So there's the same angle right there. This is the smaller one I made. This is the bigger one that I made right here. This one's 5 inches long. And this is really kind of, you know, the way you want to do it. Now, if I wanted to go back and make this skinnier, all I would have to do is mark a line on each side that I want to go to. And that would be my start place, and then go down to that middle line again. So if I wanted a skinnier bow tie, I could do it that way. The nice thing about this is when you put them in, you're going to get these nice sharp angles. And if you're using a chisel to clean up those lines as you're creating that pocket, you basically use a router to clean out most of the material, and then you go down to the edge with a chisel, and you can get really nice, crisp, really good looking lines. If you're using a template like this, a template uses a collar, and you're using a router bit. Well, that router bit is round, even though it's a really thin router bit, it's like an 1/8 inch bit. You're only going to get a rounded corner. You're not going to get anything super crisp. And because you're using the same bit to cut the actual bow tie and the pocket, you have to have rounded corners. I mean, they still look nice. Don't get me wrong. It's still a nice looking bow tie, but it's not as, I think it's just not as elegant as the sharp edged ones like this. So doing it this way, though, I will say is a little intimidating because, you know, you have to really kind of have your chisels and everything really sharp, and, you know, you take the time. So the nice thing about this is you cut your bow ties first. Then what you would do is you take that bow tie and you just kind of double side tape it to your surface. And then you get a marking knife, usually like a really sharp marking knife, and you're going to trace around that bow tie with the marking knife, right? And you're going to go all the way around, get your lines all the way. You do that multiple times, and the best way is to have a marking knife that actually has a flat part. If it's beveled on both sides, you're probably not going to get it nice and flat and flush. You want that nice and flat and flush up against your bow tie so that you're getting the nice, sharp, crisp, exact line. You want this to be the exact spot where this bow tie is going to go. And when you cut it out, then what you do is you've got a line on there. Then you get a router, a little hand router, a little plunge router, and you're going to start hand routing this thing out. But you don't go all the way to that edge. You leave yourself between 1/4 and 1/16 of an inch of space to that edge, because honestly, if you try to do that edge with a router, you're going to screw it up. So you give yourself some space around there. You just kind of start hogging out all this wood. You get your surface nice and flat. Then you pull out the chisels and you start cleaning those edges out and getting them nice and sharp and crisp. And that's really, you know, that's where it takes some time to do these things. And you want to make sure that you've got super sharp chisels, that you're being really exact, and if you do everything right, this will fit exactly inside there. Sometimes you bevel the edges of these things just so that there's room for the glue to go in there and they can squeeze down inside. But if you do it really right, it's a super clean look. I'm gonna default, this guy's like my table making hero, Blacktail Studios. I really should put that in the description. Go check out his slabs. He does some amazing work, but he does a lot of bow ties. And some people don't like bow ties, some people do. This is my table that I'm making, and if somebody wants it with bow ties, then they can buy it. I'm gonna make my bow ties out of walnut. I've got a bunch of walnut here that I can use for these, and I've saved these offcuts just for this. It has some really, really nice straight grain in here. So this is basically like quarter sawn. It's gonna be super strong, super great. I've got another piece right here. So I've got basically 3 pieces so I can make a lot of bow ties. I also will probably put bow ties in the bottom of this thing. I might put a couple of bow ties in the bottom just because, as I was mentioning, I've got some, this one right here is that's a major fissure going through there. Let me get you on the main screen here. There you go. So you can see this is a major crack going through here, and I need this stable. I do not want this moving at all. Even though this is the bottom, this doesn't have to be a beautiful bow tie in here. In fact, I could use this template to do the bottom one, and it would be just fine. Because I just want that to be cleaned up. In fact, I might just do the bottom one, and I am going to use the template on that one because honestly, it just needs to be stable. Now, before I do this one, this wood has shifted a little bit. So this piece on this crack has lifted over here from when I originally did it. So at this point right here, if I take this piece of wood and slide it down, you'll see it hits. It's not sliding through. Like this way it goes, whoop, slides right over top, but this way it's hitting. So it's not flat right here. It's about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch too high. And as you get further down the crack, it gets less and less to the point where it's all flat right here. But I'm going to have to flatten this section of it out. And I need to get my flattening sled out. And I'm really hesitant about doing that in my house, but I might just do that. I think I can do it over here on the other side of the bench. I could actually point a camera at it so you can see what I'm doing. But I really want to clean this part out so that it is, because this side's flat. And if it's a little less than flat, I can, let me see here. Let me get a nice straight edge here. Maybe straight edge. So if I bring this over, I've got a little bit right on this side where it's just raised just a hair, but from the edge, from right here, it's still pretty flat. So pretty flat. Ooh, that was a horrible noise. Pretty flat along through there, but this other side, this is not going to work because the other thing is I'm going to put my thing across here for my table legs and there's a big, huge gap here. So that's not going to work. This needs to be flat. And then I need to put the bow tie in there. What time is it? 12:15. All right, let me do something here real quick. My sled is back here. See how much room I have over here on the floor real quick. I might just, I really wanted to do this, but I don't know that I have room for my sled to do this. I mean, I have room over behind my workbench, but I don't have a camera over here. Actually, I do. I could put my GoPro over here and you could watch with the GoPro. All right, tell you what, let me see if I can make some room here. Let's make some room. I gotta make a little room. I'm gonna move some stuff. I wasn't really set up for this. Like I said, this is that whole head scratching thing. Not really sure what I wanted to do with my life today. All right, I'm gonna open the door and I've got stuff everywhere over here. So trying not to knock things down. This annoying box that wants to be in the way. Stay. All right. Oh, I always hit my lights when I do that. So sorry about that. Oh, there goes all my lovely heat out of my room. All right. And lovely spider covered things. All right. There's the bottom of the sled and the sled itself. Oh yeah. I forgot I put these risers on here too. All right. Hang on. Lots to do here. This is why I put I don't use it very often, which is why it's stuck back here. I do have my track saw tracks that I have to get out of the way. Yeesh, they are covered in spider webs. All right. And I'm going to move this over this way. Pull this out. It is covered in spider goodness. Because I've shown you the oak tabletop that I've done a couple of times, that oak cookie, and that is anything back there I need to retrieve? Just looking for stuff that may have fallen. I have no idea what this is. That's interesting. I'm gonna push this back out of the way for right now. If I can get inside the house again. Spiders, man, I tell you, they do love my shop. That is no joke. Spiders be loving my shop. All right, I need to clean all this off, and I will just use the vacuum to get all the spider webs off of here. It's chilly out there. Luckily, it's not as cold. All right, let me clean this off real quick. Okay, so this is part one. This is actually the top slide where the router goes. So the router goes in here, goes back and forth, and that runs on the rails of the sled. So let me grab the sled in all of its dusty, spider, cobby, webby glory. Ugh. So my sled is kind of big because it accommodates different size stuff. So I made it pretty stout. All right, let me close the doors after I get my track saw tracks back in here. Because, you know, they're kind of expensive. And we don't want them getting messed up. All right, I'm gonna close the door so I can keep what little heat there is left in my shop inside my shop. Oh my God. Stuff just falling on me. All right. Oop. Lost my mic. My lights are flickering overhead. Settle down, settle down, settle down, settle down. All the cords. All right. Now I did, like I said, I put a, hang on a second. I had to put extension wings on my, my sled to keep the spider webs. You know, I hate spiders. Not that they creep me out, they just create a huge mess in my shop. Anyway, I had to put these, see if I can pull this up this way. I had to put these extensions on here to raise the height so that I could, because those cookies were really thick and I couldn't get my router blade up high enough to mill these out, because these are set so that basically I'll be doing about 2-inch thick slabs on here, and that's what this is set for. But these, I had to put these on here just to accommodate for those thick slabs. So now what I'm going to do is clean this sucker off and get the vacuum and just give it a good de-spider webbing, and then we'll move forward. Aren't you loving this? Okay. Okay, I believe that is pretty straight and square. So when I made this, basically it's a ladder construction. It's all out of just standard 2x4 and 4x6 or 2x6 construction materials. And I just wanted to be as beefy and sturdy as it could be. So I use L brackets in here. These are all screwed into the sides. So there's really no shifting. I do have to get a star bit to take these extensions off of here. So let me grab my driver bits and my driver. So what I did was I took these, to put the extensions on there to raise it up, I got some L brackets, and let me make sure these are the right size here. I got some L brackets and bent them straight. That's a little loose. Let's see if this other one fits better here. And they seem to work really well. There we go. So if you have thicker material, you have to accommodate for that thicker material by having taller sides on your stuff. Why is that? I'll have to fix those too. All right, let me take these off. Okay. Woo! Don't fall on me now. All right, so here's one bracket. Oh, I got that one down in the side there. There we go. So here's one, and you can see I use these little L brackets that were just straightened to attach this to the sides. Oh, and the little nails are really sharp. I'm going to put these over to the side here. All right, and I get the other side off here. Oops. I like these star bit screws. They're really nice. They're a little bit easier for driving in. It bites a little better than a Phillips head. All right, so I've got these extensions off, and this is kind of fun. I wasn't actually thinking I would be doing this today, but here I am. Now, I have to have room to put this in my floor over here. So I'm going to clear off the room here. Got my little rubber pad, which definitely doesn't need to be. This is my little standing pad here. But I need this on the floor, and hopefully I have room for this thing right here. Hopefully I get it. There we go. Okay. Now, that's on the floor. I need to find a camera angle for you so that you can see what I'm doing, because we're just going to be off the edge here. So let's see how that looks. There you go. You can see now. There's my floor. And I'm going to take this slab and I'm going to put it in here. There we go. Now it's a little tippy. I will wedge and shim the underside of this so that it doesn't move. And I need to find just a piece of wood that I can use as a shim. And I will probably cut it into a shim shape block. So let me, so basically this is the top. This fits on here like that, moves like that. I'm going to push this. Actually, I could probably use my little thing here. Nah, I'm just going to cut a wedge shape on here with my table saw or with my bandsaw real quick. Hang on a second. Let me get these screws out of the way. That's the last thing I need to do is get a screw in my blade. All right. Tell you what, that's pretty nice. So there's my little my little shim right there. So that looks pretty nice. So what I will do is shim this under the corner here and just make sure that it is nice and steady. And my problem is my floor is not that, you can see this tipping, that's not from the bed, that's from my floor is not the flattest of floors. So I'm going to shim up my floor over here so that it does not tip like that while I'm working on this stuff. I'm just going to slide some, I've got some thin pieces of wood over here that I think will, there we go. There's one side. Let me get the other side here. Put a little something under the other side because I'm only going to be working on this one edge. And I only need that to be secure. There we go. So you can see now it's nice and secure. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not moving. It's not tipping. And really what I'm going to be working on is this part right here, because this is the part right here that is the highest part. And let me tilt you down just a little bit more, like that. Let's see. That's better. So my sled, there we go. So what I'll do is I'll set my depth probably to right here, or maybe right here, and then just start running this thing across. Maybe right here. I'll just start running it across and then getting this part flattened down. So let me get my flattening router with the big old flattening bit in it. And this is going to make a mess in my shop. But, you know, actually, you know what? I'm going to bring my little rubber pad back here so I can kneel on it, because that will be more comfortable for me, I think. Gives me something to kneel on down here. There we go. Now, I should be able to get this into the table, I think. There we go. All right. And we're going to undo this. Then I'm going to come down here. Is this sitting on the bottom? Yeah, so it's actually resting on there right now. So I need to bring this up. I think. Is it up all the way? All right. Well, I actually need to take my collet off of here because I have an extension on here and I don't need the extension for this board. So I'm going to put my wrenches in here. I think it's this way. Is it this way? Nope, it's the other way. That way. There we go. All right. There we go. And we'll pop this out. Then I can take this out of here. And I need another wrench to do that with. And now I'll just pop this into the regular collet of the thing. Let me grab a wrench for this one. I don't have a wrench that's this thin for this piece. So I have to grab like a big crescent wrench or something over here, maybe. If I can find one. People haven't moved my stuff. There we go. All right. So I've got a big crescent wrench here that I can use. So here's a big crescent wrench, and basically get these things tightened down. I don't know which way this actually wants to turn to loosen. I think it's this way. There we go. Just like that. Whoops. And loosen this collet. So like I said, this, I don't know how much this costs, but it's pretty nice. This is for a 1/2 inch collet, and it just allows you to get that blade extended further into your workpiece. So pretty nice little collet extender. So now I can take this, which I can show you this now. It's a big, giant Mamma Jamma blade for doing flattening. And I'm just going to put this into here. This, And now I'll tighten this back down. Why this is sticking out so far. That collar, hang on a second. The collar on here is sticking out a lot further than I think it should. I think this collar should be in further. It seems like it's out just a little too far here. And I'm not sure why this collar is sticking way out here. I think it should be in further. All right, well, I'm going to put this upside down and insert it this way, and that keeps that collar from falling out. This blade just barely fits inside my router opening. But I do like using a 1/2-inch collet. I would not want to use a 1/4-inch collet for doing any sort of flattening like this because just not enough. Where did I put that other? I see. Oh, there it is. I was leaning on it. Not enough girth to really get a nice, solid, vibration-free cut with that. There we go. Get that tightened down. Ugh. There we go. So now, when I put this in, let me extend it down. I have to get past there. And now what I'm going to do is find my depth. Is that hitting? See, that's not hitting. Oh, come on. What are we doing? Okay, I got to loosen this. Loosen this. And find... stop it. I thought I loosened that. There we go. All right. So I'm setting my depth for the table right here. And I'm going to set my stop. So this is my stop right here. I'm setting that so when it lands on this piece right here, that it is basically going to bottom out. Then I can raise it up a little bit when I start it. I won't be starting my cut exactly right there. I'll lower it down. We're good to go. I'm definitely going to put some ears on for this because it's going to get loud. All right, let me get some power over here. But I kind of have to do this in order to, before I get into doing any sort of work with my router for making the inlay. All right, ears. Let me check something real quick. Stop it. Speech chat thing here. Hello, there we go. All right. I'm not sure why that Twitch window is like so far behind everybody else. But that being said, I'll put my ears on. I'll turn the audio on. That way, if you want to chat with me, I can hear you. And you can see what I'm doing down here. Hello, down there. All right. Basically, all I'm going to do is drag this back and forth, move it down, drag it back and forth, and hopefully this one little section right here will get pared down to the scale that it needs to be. Now I set that to that bottom part there, but what I could do, we'll see how much of a bite it's going to take. All right, nervous time. So I'm going to be nervous about this. Always makes me nervous. All right. So I was pushing pretty hard. It's actually doing things where I didn't think it would do things, so it's kind of interesting. It's interesting. So anyway, I'm having to slab it up right here. I'm going to put a piece of wood to block it from sliding on me, because it's just kind of, it's sliding as I'm moving it forward here. And I don't need that. So I don't need it sliding. So I'm going to put a block of wood in here that will just keep it from sliding forward. And it just needs to be not taller than the block. So that's not going to work. A little bit shorter than this. So hang on, let me look in my stashes of blocks of wood here. I think this one actually might work. All right. I just need something that's going to keep it from moving all the way to the edge. As I push it here, I think that's fine. So if I push it against there, you can see it's not going to slide anymore. All right. I'm going to raise up a little bit and then we'll start this again. Frankly, I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised at where it's actually cutting. Because it's actually taking off on this end, which I thought it would take off on this end. This end is still a little higher. I got to get my ruler here. So I'll probably have to go down a little bit lower, take off a little bit more here, because I mean, I'm still hitting this end right here, and that's my problem. So I need to set my depth I don't understand. I'm going to set my depth on this end over here. I'm going to bring it back over here. Maybe I'm going to set this right here. Maybe. There we go. It needs to come down just a little bit. It's kind of sitting in the plywood a little bit there. Need to bring it down. And I'm going to set the bottom out to this piece of wood right here by the crack, because I want it to be bottomed out right on that. That's my bottom. I'm going to set this stop. All right. And now I'm going to bring this back up a little bit. Let's start this and see if I can take this off and then see where I think, yeah, I just had a little bit of a twist kind of going on in there, and that was creating a problem for me because it's flat now. All right, well, let's see what we get here. And this wood has been sat so long since I've done this that basically what's happened is that it's twisted and it's moved over time, which means I have to reflatten it anyway. All right, you know what I do need though? What I do need and I'm kind of stupid for not doing this originally, is a mask for doing this, because, I mean, just something to block wood chips and stuff, because that's kind of an issue. So I'm going to just go into my house and grab a mask. I don't like using a mask like this because my glasses get fogged up, but you know, it is what it is. All right, I got the mask on. So there you go, protected. All right, let's try this again. See what we get here. Now it should be off the bottom. It is. And then we'll start it and then plunge it down. Okay. And you can see, hopefully you can see on here that this is all fresh wood. Right down here, I did get it flattened down. So if I take my ruler now, this is all This is all flat. It's not hitting this piece when it comes through. And it was just a hair, a whisper taken off of this end. So really, this thing had kind of twisted a little bit. But as I get to this end, I'm not really taking any cuts anymore. So it's pretty much now flattened and no more twist in here. Now, what I could do, if I wanted to, is take this whole thing, flip it, and run the other side, do a light skim on the other side, and that should make the whole thing flat again. I'm kind of hesitant to do that because I've already, now, see if I put this down now, I don't need that shim anymore. So I'm kind of hesitant to do that because I think this side is pretty flat already. Although there are some places that are a little high over here. I'm just weary of taking off too much stock. I don't want to take off too much stock because I think this side has dipped down low. And I mean, I'm looking at, yeah, I think I kind of need to do that. I'm sad to do that. I don't want to do that, but I think I kind of need to put this down low. And that way it'll hold it from low, my blade won't hit it. But I think I kind of need to do that. I think I need to set it to this height and then trim everything else off. And I think the problem with that is that I think it's going to cut into the wood on this end a little bit. This is pretty flat right here. But like I said, I'm trying to get this thing flat so that I can, probably needs to be waxed. Not probably, it does need to be waxed. Anyway, I'm trying to get this so that I can use it and put bow ties in it. And because it was such a long period of time, it most definitely needs to be flattened down to that scale. Let me see where it is, like right here. This is the low part right down here. This is definitely the low point. So if I set this as my flattening point, and that actually might be, see here, is that going to run into there? See, that doesn't, oh, my bottom plunge. See, I'm at my bottom plunge now. So I can't actually hit this now. That sucks. Let me see how far off that is. I think it's just a hair over. Let me see if I can find, looking for my phone so I can find my flashlight. What do I do with my phone? Well, that's a bother. I can't find my phone. Maybe I left it inside. All right, hang on. I've got a little light on here. I'm just a hair off. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheat just a little bit because, you know, there's no cheating in woodworking. They're just smarter ideas. I'm going to unplug this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the bit out from the collet just a hair, which isn't always ideal, but because I like to have them firmly seated, but sometimes you just have to use what you got there. So let me loosen this, extend this out just a little bit. I don't think I need to go much. Not that much. Good God, man. Maybe that much. Let's try that. And see if I can get, because I wasn't missing it by that much. I mean, it was just a tiny bit. I don't want to have to put the collet extender in just for that. So let me see if I can touch this part of the table now. Plunge. If I can get this in. Hang on. There we go. Okay, that hits. So that's where I want my plunge to be. Set that. Pop it back up. And let me see how far off I am on this end. I can look to see. It's almost there. Okay. Did I tighten this? I'm going to try this one more time here. I'm going to see if I'm going to loosen this. Oh, that's why. Okay. Why aren't you loose? Okay, what is going on here? Sometimes things don't want to cooperate. I don't need that one. I just need this one. And this one's not moving. Why is this not moving? There it goes. All right. Let's get this, push it down to the table. Right there. There. That's where I want it to be. That's hitting. That is hitting the table surface. Okay, raise it up a little bit. Bring it down here. Now I'm going to look and see. Well, that's almost flat, flush. All right, I'm going to make a cut here and see something because it's just being weird. So let's just make a cut and see. Let's do it. Because it may just be that it's twisted and it's fine on each end, but it's high in the middle. So let's see. Okay. Well, I went ahead and did the whole thing. I had a big piece from this crack chunk off and try to smack me. Now, some areas didn't get hit at all. This area was just a tad low, but you know what? I'm not going to mess with that because honestly, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm not going to mess with it. But what I did do was get this down low, and I got these flattened. And that's really what I wanted to do, was get these areas right here flattened down. And we accomplished that. And so the whole thing is flat now. Actually, let me run over this one, just one more spot right here, real quick. Okay. So obviously I'm going to need to sand this again. You can see this is a little low, and hopefully you can see that on the table. There's some areas that just don't look like they quite got touched by the router, but for the most part, pretty good. Pretty good. I had to do pretty much this whole thing because, like I said, it's been a couple of years since I flattened this, and I think I just got some wood movement in there over time, and it just, you know, created a little bit of movement in there to the point where anything I was going to try to do from this point on was not going to be effective. Speaking of not effective, talking through my mask, not effective. Woo! I am covered in wood chips. This is a messy process. And like I said, I normally wouldn't do this outside or inside, but it's a little chilly outside. And you know what? I like to share. So you got to see me share that. I'm gonna pull all this stuff up here for right now. Yeah. So now this is pretty much flattened. I'm gonna have to put this back up on my bench and flatten out all of those bit marks in there. And you can see how it leaves that kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see. Show it up to you a little bit more. If you can see those little scallopy marks in here, can you see those? They're kind of hard to see. But you can see it on this one now. So all these little scallop kind of edge marks here, even though this is a really great bit that I use, it's really hard not to get those marks in there. They're not hard to take out. Like I said, I could either use a belt sander or like a 60 grit in my large Bosch rotary sander would probably make pretty quick work of those. And that's probably what I will do next, is to clean those up. All right, let me get off of that camera. That's enough of that. And we can come back to the regular camera views. So anyway, that was kind of, like I said, I haven't done that in shop before. That's my first time doing that in the workshop. It's messy. There's no doubt about it. Let me, what did I do? I hit a menu. Let me go ahead and pop this back up on the table here. But the main point of that was to even these crack surfaces out so that when I put bow ties in, especially this back one right here, this one was all kinds of ugly because it had shifted so much. And now it's flat across there. And that's what I need to put a bow tie in. I need it to be flat when I put a bow tie in there. Woo! All right, you know what else I need? I need my vacuum, because I need to get this stuff up pretty quickly here. Otherwise, it's going to be tracked all over the place, and I don't want that. Let me just sweep off the thing here, and I'm going to vacuum all this stuff up. Wow. Lots and lots and lots of dust. Anyway, this bit is really, really, really effective at flattening stuff. I really like it. It has carbide bits in it. The bits can be rotated. If you get dull or a nick, you can rotate to a new edge, and that makes it super effective. It was a little bit of money, but honestly, worth every penny when you're slabbing something. And the thing about making slabs and flattening slab is you want to take off as little wood as possible, right? You want to be able to preserve as much thickness as you can and still get flat parallel sides. Unless you're looking at something like my big 4-inch cookie where, I just need to take a ton of wood off of that thing. But generally, when you buy slabs, they're in that 2 to 2.5 inch range. And you really want to maintain as much of that thickness as possible. And so if you've got a really good bit, that means you're going to get a nice flat flattening, nice and flat. And that means that you're going to have to sand less, which means you're going to remove less material. So a good bit is very helpful. This is a 3-bladed bit. They have some others, and there's some other like super expensive ones that are really nice. But this one has served me well. I got this on Amazon, I think. But if you look up at flattening bits or wasteboard flattening bits or something like that, you'll find them. It's not that big a deal to find. All right, what do I need to do? Well, I need to clean this mess up really quickly here. Let me grab my vacuum attachment here, my floor vacuum attachment on this. All right, I'm going to do this really quick just to get the bulk of this stuff up so I just stop tracking it all over. Okay, that's enough of that. I mean, honestly, hang on, one more big spot here. Sorry, maybe. Okay. Yeah, if you're curious or interested in making a flattening jig, there's a lot of videos out there on how to actually make and use a flattening jig. Mine is, as you can see, it's nothing spectacular. You need 2 things. You need a sliding mechanism like this. Mine is built really super sturdy. So you can see I doubled up on the 3/4 inch ply on the sides. So this is super stout and rigid on the sides here. I wanted this to hold up over time and not be, twisting, and that was a big thing. You don't want them to twist. So using something like 1/2-inch ply, I would not advise, I would advise against that actually. 3/4 inch, and then like I said, I doubled up on mine just to keep it from twisting over time. Now this bottom piece is 3/4 inch. You need to cut the slot in there, and then that is actually glued to the bottom of this thing. And then I have these end stops on here that are put on here to keep the slide from only moving so far across the little ladder configuration. So when you get to one edge, it stops it, and then you come to the other side, it'll stop it down there. But that's really for this. I see people make this out of angle iron, which is really effective. You also have to pay attention to, you know, what thickness slab are you going to be working with? Because like I said, mine was like 2 inches when I started, which is what I built this sled specifically to handle, like a 2-inch slab. If I need to go thicker, I put those side rails on there, which like I did for the cookie, for the big 4-inch thick oak cookie. I had to make this thicker. That's when I decided to split my cookie into 2 large pieces because it wouldn't fit in the width of this thing. And I was like, well, you know, I don't want to spend a year making a new one just for that thing. So this one is actually pretty well made. The big thing you want to make sure is that you're nice and flat and straight. So you want a nice flat surface to build on. Use a lot of long straight boards to make sure that your ladder pieces are running perpendicular and parallel to each other so that you have that reference surface to work off of. You can always, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put this thing in the, you're going to put a piece of wood in there, and you're going to have to shim the wood because your wood's not going to be perfectly flat. So you're going to shim, but once you get that surface flattened, you want to be able to take those shims out, flip it over, and have it sit completely flat and flush on those rails. You know, these pieces right here, yeah, it's big and unwieldy. You have to have a place to put one too. But anyway, you want these pieces right here to really be flat and coplanar to each other because that is going to be your reference surface for doing the top side of your table or the other side of the table. So like I said, the first side you're going to do, you're going to shim it and make it so it won't tip. You're going to run your bit across the entire surface until you have basically done the entire thing. Then you take the shims and stuff out, flip it over, and then it should flat reference against your rails. And then you don't need to shim it. You might need to hot glue it in place or something just to keep it from shifting and moving, or just put some blocks of wood in to keep it shifting. That's what I did. But that in itself is going to give you a really, really nice starting point for your slabs. And that's if you have to do it this way. I mean, not everybody has access to a large, spider webs, I hate you, has access to a large planer, you know, you're talking industrial size planers and drum sanders. And honestly, this is so easy. You can buy a really nice bit. I mean, that bit I think costs maybe under $100, and that's a really nice one. You can get cheaper ones. You can do it with different bits. You can do it with a straight bit that's like a 1/2 inch. It'll just take you a whole lot of passes to get it done. You don't have to use a bit specifically made for that, just something that will make a flat bottom and then, you know, as wide as you can get. And you kind of want a beefy router. I'm just going to say it. You don't want a wimpy router. You can't use like a little hand, like a Bosch Colt router, or a little DeWalt, like a 611 like I have in my CNC machine or something. You need a router that has at least 1.5 horses, I'm going to say. If it has more than that, it's even better. This particular one that I use, it's okay. As you could hear it kind of struggling a little bit. Maybe, well, you may not have heard it, but as I got to some of the thicker spots, it struggled a little bit. This is a model 6931 router, I think. No, that's the base. So you want a plunge base too, that's the other thing. You need a plunge. So this is a 6902, And it is I think it's a 1 1/4 horse. Let me, is that popped all the way up? It is. I was just trying to see, I can't read it because it's behind things here, but I think this is a 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 horse. Of course, it's right behind the plunge mechanism, so you can't read it, right? I really wish I knew where my phone was. I could zoom in. But I think it's an 11 amp. How many horses? 27,500 RPMs. 120 volt. I can't read it. Anyway, model, whatever. Because it won't show me the model. I could take it out of here, I guess, right? You can, how do you get this out of here? You have to loosen something. And I haven't taken it out of here in like forever. It just lives in here because this is its home. Oh, I think I have it locked in here. Anyway, 6902, I believe is what this is. And you can look it up. I really wish I could see that. I really wish I knew where my phone was. That kind of irks me that I don't have my phone in here because I thought I did. Hang on just 1 second. I got to find my phone. You can chat amongst yourselves for a moment while I look around. Hi, puppies. Did you see my phone? Is it in the office? Did I leave it in the office? Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Not in the office. I don't see it in the kitchen. I don't see it on the counter. I don't see it on the charger. Oh, there it is. Fell down by the couch cushion. Okay. Really all I want is my flashlight on here or my close-up camera, because that allows me to kind of peek into these spaces and read things. But this is a heavy duty, 6902 motor in here. So if I look that up, the Porter cable, and like I said, you can get these on eBay and Craigslist and other such places. I think I got this one used. So you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money. You can buy a new one, but 6902. I think I got this one and I bought the plunge base separately. And I'm just trying to see what the horsepower is. So this is a 1 3/4 horse. Best I can figure out. Yeah, 1 3/4 horse with so basically a 690 LR, the 969 LR, the 693 LRPK. Any of those, they all take a 1/2 inch collet, which is really important. Sorry, I was over here looking at the router. So two things you want. You want one that takes a 1/2 inch collet, because that 1/2 inch collet, I'm looking for my seat. The 1/2 inch collet allows you to use those big, stout, sturdy bits, right? You want something that allows you to use something thick and stout. So 1/2 inch collet, I would say, is a definite necessity. You need something with some horsepower to it. And did my computer shut off? It might have. I think it's out of power. Oh, well. Anyway, yep, it says plug power in. So you want something with a 1/2 inch collet. You want something with at least 1.5 horses, 1 3/4. More horses are better, 2, 3, whatever. Don't build your sled caddy until after you have your router, because you need to build it to fit in your router, and hopefully it'll fit in your router, and then you'll have it in a position where it will turn, but not, it'll kind of lock in place and won't twist. And most routers have a semi-round base. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you can see this one actually has a round base, but these pieces right here, and here, extend out past that round base. And because of that, when I stick this into the carrier, it only turns so far. And you need that because what happens is that torque of that bit, as you're extending further away, your amount of grip that you're going to have on that thing is going to be less. And if that thing can spin all the way around, that's bad. So you want one that actually will lock into place. And most of them have like a flat side to them or whatever that'll allow you to kind of lock it in to a specific. Did I cut myself? I have blood or something on me? Yeah, well. but will allow you to lock into a certain position and then slide without it twisting out of your hand. So that's the other thing to kind of be mindful of. And then, you know, you can use this for, you can buy, a lot of people sell on Facebook Marketplace and places like that. They'll sell kind of slabs. So if you want to get into kind of slabbing and stuff, I'd say this is the best place to start. You're not going to want to, I don't know, maybe you are. Maybe you're that guy that just loves his hand tools and wants to use that. I'm thinking you're not going to want to use that. You're going to want to sled, get that down to a nice parallel, 2 flat parallel sides. Then you can clean it up and do whatever you want to with it. But anyway, all right, well, that was a little different direction than I was planning on going today, but I think that was pretty good. I don't know if I'll work on this weekend. Maybe I'll work on the inlay cutting board idea. And then what we'll do on, I won't be here Monday, so just a reminder, Monday I won't be here. Maybe Wednesday, I will do I'll clean this up with my my belt sander and my disc sander and get a nice flat surface, you know, a finish, not 100% finished, but a closer to finished surface. And then we will do the inlays on the back. And maybe I will just use these for the inlays on the back or on the bottom, because nobody's gonna see those anyway. Those are just for structural integrity. And so we can do a couple of those on the bottom side, practice it out, give it a try. If all else fails and I screw it up, I can always make a larger one and cut it by hand and do it. I don't want to, but I can. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna put a pin in it right there and call it for the weekend. Have yourself a great weekend. Like I said, I won't be here Monday. I'll be back on Wednesday, and maybe we'll do a little inlay. That'll be kind of fun. So until then, have a great time. Get out in your shop. Enjoy the weekend. If you got packages to mail, tick tock, get off your butt and get them in the mail because you want them to get there, right? And I'm going to work on that too, because you're not the only one. Wait, service at PayPal. I earned 1 entry to PayPal's holiday giveaway. Hot darn! A holiday giveaway that I will never win because I'm never going to enter. All right, I'm out of here. Have a great weekend. Come back and see me Wednesday. We'll do some bow ties. We'll get fancy, do a bow tie. All right, take care.